with me, Amit Sodha, your wonderful host. And today I've got an incredible guest, someone who came to my attention. I saw their bio and I was just like, wow, this individual is incredible. Like, I'm just going to share some of that in just a minute. But before I do, I'm just going to reiterate, my name is Amit Sodha, the founder of this wonderful community, this Feel Inspired podcast, this place where I hope to help and inspire and energize people in the same way that I've been inspired via books, via quotes, via podcasts. My goal was to help recreate some of that for other people that I've had in my own life, whether it's been, like I said, through reading books, listening to podcasts, hearing quotes, listening to speakers, whoever it might be. And that has always been my goal, is to help inspire, energize, really help people unleash the things inside that they've always wanted to do. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce this incredible guest of mine. By the way, Parul, I didn't ask you, whereabouts are you right now?
I am in beautiful sunny Arizona.
Well, actually, my previous guest I had on a minute ago, she was in Phoenix, Arizona as well. So 2 from Arizona. Lovely.
Wow.
All right. Awesome. So anyway, this is the lovely Parul Agarwal, and she is one of the leading business growth. She's a leading business growth strategist, an engineer by education, and an entrepreneur by passion. She's an international best-selling author. She's a TEDx speaker and a Forbes Coaches Council member as well. Now, you hold 2 master's degrees. I mean, like, that's more than I could even fathom in my lifetime, in engineering, again, from Arizona State University. And you worked as a research scientist at ASU as well. And but you decided not to go down the traditional career path, and you wanted to follow your passion, I believe. And this is obviously, the whole topic is about how to engineer your passion. This is what you spoke about at your TEDx talk. And so let's talk about this. Let's talk about what this is, what this means for people. But before we do, I just wanted to throw something by you. Now, I should have brought it up earlier and I didn't, but I saw something, an interesting post on LinkedIn today by a friend. She'd written this post and I wanted to get your take on it. I thought it'd just be a different slant, almost playing devil's advocate a little bit. So it was regarding passion. So let me just read this to you a second, see what you think.
Would love to.
So with a lot of direct messages from the boss, project management, system updates, clicking our smartphones day and night, we're always on, and many employers expect that level of availability. New entrepreneurs, and obviously this current time has meant that more people are now exploring this idea of becoming an entrepreneur. So new entrepreneurs who launched post-redundancy are also risking burnout. They're working longer and longer hours to make a success of it, but they're operating in high uncertainty with limited safety nets. So people are very insecure and feel under pressure to be always nexting. That's doing the next thing to get them visible. And there's also a link between passion and burnout. And when that passion becomes obsessive, it can be dangerous. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Now, I know it's a pretty devil's advocate approach to the topic, but I thought it's a good place to start, because although I saw this and I see where the person's coming from, I don't necessarily agree with it. What's your take on that?
I think it is possible for people to be so passionate about things that they actually forget about everything else, because they really want to really make it big. And I would say a lot of things come into picture, Amit, because it's not just passion, but it's also competitiveness, right? It's also peer pressure. Like, everybody is doing so great. They started their business in March when the pandemic started, and they're already taking it off. And here I am, not able to make it. And that really, demotivates some people, and they feel that if they put in more hours, and of course they're doing this because they're passionate about it. But I always tell people that hard work is one thing, but also smart work is another thing. And if you're passionate, then you have to be passionate, and you have to have a balance in life, right? You just cannot be passionate about your work and forget your health in the process, or forget your family in the process. I've seen a lot of families break up just because one of the people were so passionate about what they did that they forgot about their families. So I would say having a passion is a good thing, but also try to have that balance. And most importantly, try to be passionate towards your health also. And the same thing happened with me also. Actually, I was so passionate about my stuff that I would not take care of my health. I'm big into juicing, but juicing takes time, juicing takes effort.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, let's go for the easy route and eat whatever is easily available. But slowly and steadily it started taking a toll on my health. And eventually you realize that if you do not have this body, then you will not have your job tomorrow. So at the end, I think balance is the key.
All right, we'll come back to that about how you find balance, and so we'll discuss that a little bit further. But I wanted to get your again your opinion on something, because I think I define it in a slightly different way. But I wanted to get your opinion on it because it just could be semantics. But how would you differentiate between, say, passion and purpose?
Oh, that's a very good question. So I would think that my purpose is always something that I could use to help the society. Okay. That might not be my passion actually. For example, my passion could be painting or writing books for myself, to help me grow. But is it helping the other person grow? That is how I look at my purpose in life. So that is how I differentiate, but I would obviously love to know what you think about it.
Yeah, no, I do agree, actually. I think that our purpose is, for me, is more to do with my highest calling. And I don't necessarily believe a purpose is something that's kind of gifted to us via some kind of higher power. I believe it can be that, or it can be something we choose to do. And I believe that our passion, we can be passionate about many things. Whereas, as you said, the purpose is kind of like your core, like you said, to serve, right? To help people grow. And so very similar to that, I would agree with that. But I see my purpose as being having an impact on every human soul in some form or fashion, a positive,
Right.
empowering impact. But
The
I'm
way
quite
yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I was just going to say as well, but I'm quite passionate about doing radio. I'm passionate about, but then equally, I'm passionate about things which, don't matter too much in the grand scheme of things, but I can get very passionate about certain things. For example, traffic. And now, if you've ever been to London, you will know that I know it's quite bad in certain places in India. I know I've been there, and even in America, in California, the 405 during rush hour is
Oh
horrendous.
yes. Oh yes.
At least in America, the roads are designed decently. I know I'm completely digressing, but this is just one example. Whereas if you come to London, I mean, I define London as bottleneck city. It's like they've designed it to be traffic, to have traffic. So I get very passionate about that. I'm like, why did they design it like this? Why couldn't they do it this properly? If I was doing this job, I could get passionate about things like that. It wouldn't be my purpose, but like in those moments, I can get very passionate about certain things. So,
Exactly.
so yeah, so they are almost, I would almost describe them as fair weather friends. In those moments, I become passionate, but my calling, my purpose stays with me always.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Yes, I have been to London once and I would love to revisit it when everything goes back to normal. And what I was saying, one time, one of my business coaches said, asked me, what would you like? The message that you will like written on your memorial, right? What is that message that you would like seen on the memorial after you die? And that made me really think, because of course I help people write their books, I help people publish and rank their books into bestsellers and market their books. But I don't want people to remember me like a book coach or a publisher or a publicist. I want people to remember me as somebody who spreads smiles on people's faces and help them find their purpose. Right. So that really is always at the bottom, and as you mentioned, at the core of my heart, no matter whatever I'm doing throughout my day. Like right now, I'm also passionate about juicing. I'm passionate about yoga. But again, is that my higher purpose and calling? Maybe not. That's just, small bits and pieces of my life. Hmm.
I love that. I love that. And I think you and I are pretty aligned there as well. And I think that it's an important distinction to have. So let's go back to the title of this talk as well. Like, let's talk about how to engineer your passion. Because now, as we've said, in this particular paradigm we're in right now, people have for months now been questioning what it is they would really like to do. And
Absolutely.
some people are choosing to go down that road. Some people are being thrust down that road. So where would one start when it comes to engineering their passion? And I love that terminology as well, because obviously you come from an engineering background, but clarify it for us. What does that mean? What does it mean for an individual listening to this right now? Where would they start? How would they begin?
That's a great question. And the reason I term this thing engineering your passion is because, you see, I grew up in India, and when I was growing up, everybody is essentially an engineer or a doctor. I believe you have some roots in India too, and you would, resonate with it. And of course, I took the traditional route, and I became an engineer. And ever since I was a child, I wanted to be a journalist. Okay. But somehow, somewhere, that journalism craziness died down. And I just, followed the normal path that was laid out for me, I would say. And in the process, I forgot what I really was passionate about, because then you become robotic, Amit. Okay, you finish your college, you finish your graduate studies, and then you go into the corporate world, and then you do what you're asked to do. But in all this, you are somewhere lost, right? What you really want in life is somewhere lost, and then you make that as a part of your life. Not that you're unhappy, but is that really what you always dreamt of as a child, as a 5-year-old kid? And that is something that I always asked myself. And then I would talk to my friends, highly educated, all PhDs. And I would say, hey, I'm working, but I don't think this is my passion. And then people would be like, oh, really? I don't even know what my passion is. And my jaw would literally drop. And I was like, how come people do not know what their passion is? And then it made me think, that is the truth, because we get so busy with daily rut of our life that we forget who we really are and what we really loved as a child. So that made me think. And what I realized, and Adam Grant, I mentioned it in my TED talk also, is sometimes, passion develops. Okay. Passion is not something you might, most of the people don't even know what their passion is these days, but something that you're really good at, something that you do not get bored doing. So it's often the product of hard work, not its driver. So coming back to the very first topic where you said that people get burnt out, sometimes I feel, when you're working and you're really, really deep into something, you might realize, oh gosh, you're really passionate about this. I found I was really passionate about nutrition because I joined nutrition to learn more about it. I was always interested in learning more about my body, how body works, how we exercise and stuff like that. And in the process, I found out that I was really passionate about nutrition. Then I wrote a book and on green juicing, and I found out I was really passionate about juicing and helping others lead a healthy lifestyle. Then I got into book publishing, and I really realized that I'm not only good at it, but I'm also really passionate about helping people share their message with the world. So you see, passion grows and develops. And that's why I went back to my story, and I realized what are the things that I implemented in my life to really find my passion, and not only find it, but actually make it into a lucrative career for myself. So I come up with this equation, which I'm also mentioned in TED Talk, is your mind plus body multiplied by soul is equal to passion, which simply
Right.
means that your mind, body, and soul, when they are in sync, then you know that you're really passionate about something, and you have to make them in sync by doing the right kind of exercises for your body, by doing the right kind of meditation and mindful techniques for your mind. And whatever you do, even if you're sitting here and talking to me, or even if you're washing the dishes or playing with your children, do everything by putting your 100%, putting your soul into it. Even if you're doing it for a very short period of time, then you really can find out what you're passionate about, because then you are in sync and you're not distracted with these outside noises and you're just listening to your inner voice.
That's right. Yeah, it's interesting you talked about speaking to these people who've done their PhDs, and they're in that world, and they've realized that that isn't their passion, their purpose, and they're just doing it. And I unlike you, I was actually not very well educated. I pretty much almost dropped out of high school, and I went to I've been to speak at many sort of educational institutes, and speaking to undergraduates. And I asked him this question. I say to him, like, what is it you really want to do? What are you passionate? What are you passionate about? What is your purpose? I drill down and try and find out what it is they really want to do, because they're usually caught between what can I do in education that's going to get me well paid, and
Exactly.
what would I like to do? And it's, I know it's a difficult time in this day and age as well for youngsters, right? Because they're torn between this idea of having security, having money. We need money. We've got to have a certain lifestyle, a livable lifestyle. Feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, have a roof over our head when property prices are so high, and all the rest of it. And so they're trying to find this delicate balance, and it is very tricky. And so, what do you say to people who are in that position, perhaps, who are able to somehow now, or in like I said, probably a better position to make a better choice right now, but balance these things where they're thinking about, okay, how do I earn money, but also do the thing that I love doing?
I always tell people, start slow and be realistic, because some people, all of a sudden they leave their jobs and then they think that they will dive into the business or their career or their passion full time, and that's when they actually fall into depression, because nothing is short. There's no short route for anything, right? You have to work smart and work hard. So most of the time I would, because I come from the background also, so I understand how difficult it is to leave that hefty paycheck, and it takes time to build a business, right? No matter how good you are. So start on the side, maybe on the weekend or after you're done with the work. If you really know that you're good at something, then you will definitely be able to spread the message or spread your services and products or whatever you have to the world. So test the waters, rather than taking any rash decision and disappointing yourself and your family, and then steadily grow. And I also am a big believer in community, just like you. I know you have such an amazing community of so many people who are supporting you, and you're supporting them. And I believe it's always a good idea to have that community of like-minded people. Initially when you're starting, find people who are probably like you, find that accountability, and maybe you could trade some services with them. For example, if you're really good at designing graphics and somebody is really good at marketing, then maybe you could design graphics for them and this other person could help you with the marketing. A little bit of trade-offs here and there. So if you really want to dive into the business, you're not really spending so much money also, and then again rely on the power of your community to spread your message. Because don't think that people mostly, entrepreneurship can be a lonely journey, but it doesn't have to be if you are willing, and if you have the courage to ask for help.
Yeah, I agree, because I've been in that situation where I've been in a situation where I've had like pennies in my pocket, market. And when you're in that situation, you're very ill-equipped to help other people, especially if your business, your passion is in helping others. If you're in the back of your mind, you're concerned about how you're going to pay your next bill, how you're going to put food on your table, how you're going to, feed yourself, your family, and put petrol in your car, all of the rest of it, then when your thoughts and energy are tied up in that, you're not in a position to really give anyone the best of yourself. I
Exactly.
spent in parallel to doing all of this, I spent 20 years in IT. For me, I know it was a long journey, but I had to take that parallel route for me as well, because being a little bit naive, but also just not having any great support structure around me, I had to do it the only way that I knew how, and that was get a job, earn some money, try and live a bit independently, and just live a little bit nice as well. At the same time, build my business, my blog, my coaching, whatever it might be. But I know that there was a period I went through where that money wasn't there, and I had been made redundant, and that period lasted for probably, I think, plus 18 months plus. But it was one of the most stressful, difficult times of my life, and my health did suffer as well. So I do say to people the same thing, that look, if you can sustain yourself somehow, if you can begin on a part-time basis, so at least you have some income to keep you going, a sustainable income, then gradually you can build upon that. It can happen slowly. Everyone wants to dive in there straight away. Of course, we all want to be an overnight success. But
Exactly.
let's face it, real success is never overnight, and it takes time, and it's built over a number of years. And if you can let go of that need to be, that immediate, almost success gratification, almost, then gradually you'll get there, slowly but
You
surely.
do.
Yeah, and so digging a little bit deeper, I mean, if you are one of these people who has no idea where to start, all you're doing, in fact, I hear people say this time and time again: I have no idea what it is I want to do. I have no idea what my passion is. I haven't got a clue, but they just know they're not happy where they are. Where do you start with someone like that?
That's a great question. And I always start by telling them this might be counterintuitive to business, but I always ask them to start with the detox. And this detox would be social media detox, this detox would be TV detox, and this detox would also be an internal cleanse for the body. Because when you have all these parasites in your intestines, and they're sending signals to your brain, you are not able to make the right kind of decisions. Okay, go on a fast, go on a juice detox or a water detox, or whatever is simple for you, maybe a fruit detox, because we need to cleanse our intestines. So that, because more and more research, Amit, is coming these days, that your brain health is actually your gut health. So it's the gut brain connection, right? So once you have a clear gut, you will know exactly what you want to do, because you'll have a clear brain at that point of time. Most of the big leaders, be it Steve Jobs, be it our leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Buddha, uh, or any of the big CEOs, they believe in fasting and they believe in cleansing. Especially when they have to take a big financial decision on a business, they go on these detox, because they know that again, it goes back to listening to your inner voices, right? They know that they won't be distracted with all the outside distractions. Plus, they won't be distracted by the parasites that are creating a havoc in your immune system, and they will be able to make a right decision. And trust me, I have tried it. So that's the physical aspect of it. The not so physical or the spiritual aspect of it is your pineal gland, which is considered your third eye. It gets solidified because of the way we eat, the way we live, because of the environmental pollutants. And once we start cleansing, the pineal gland liquefies. Okay. And once this pineal gland liquefies, we are able to hear the messages from the other side. So basically, as you mentioned, you are in direct communion with your higher self. You could call it God, you could call it whatever you want to call, but essentially you are able to have that direct connection because of the liquefaction of the pineal gland, and you will know exactly what you want to do. So there is a whole process to this, and it's not something that is voodoo or woo woo. It's all your mind, body, and soul being in sync.
No, do you know what? You and I are so aligned. Like my morning routine is I wake up at 5 in the morning. My first 15 minutes as soon as I step out of bed is meditating. Because for me, the reason I do that first thing now, because when you wake up, obviously you are naturally a little bit groggy, you've just woken up, you're in a haze. So for me, it's actually the hardest time to meditate. If you ask me to meditate in the evening, I will meditate very simply, very easily. But to meditate in the mornings for me is more of a challenge. So it's the time that I want to conquer. And then I, wake up, get ready. I go for an hour's worth of exercise, whether that's a run, a walk, strength training. I will do that. And then my wife and I, we usually have dinner by about 7 p.m., 8 p.m. at a push.
Yeah.
And we'll try and fast as much as we can all the way through to 12. It's not always practical with work. So usually it's maybe about 10 or 11. And I've done my juice fasting as well. I've done my maximum on juice is 10 days, and I've done 65 days on one meal a day, because it does make a difference. Even if you can abstain from food for even just up to 24 hours, and that's not really a push. People get so worried. Oh my God, I'm going to get so hungry. I'm going to I'm going to die with 24 hours. No, you are not. You've got plenty of storage in your body. And I say to people that when you fast, you especially when you sort of hit that 20, 22, 24-hour mark, the ketones that kick in, your body, you're starting to release all this fat.
Yes.
Cells, and it's starting to really light up. And I compare it to the film Limitless with Bradley Cooper. I say to people, it's like taking that pill. You start to go like, whoa, I'm on another level, right? And so I'm so in alignment with everything you said. But I've never really thought about using that as the tool to find my purpose. But that's a great way of putting it. I love that because, as Tony Robbins says, right, clarity is power. And so when you're clear on what it is you want to do, if you don't know, then you're always going to be lost and thinking, let me try this and see how that goes. No, that didn't work. Let me try this and see how that goes. And you're going to be just lost in that phase, that haze, that fog. But the best thing you can do is get clarity. And I love what you said. That's so, so true.
And it's so simple, actually, because then you do not have to go for an advice and spend thousands of dollars on business coaching and stuff. Of course, you do that, but clarity comes from within. Nobody, not even your parents or your partner, can tell you what you really want to do in life or should do in life, because it's their message, not your message. Yes.
Absolutely right. And probably they're the worst people to ask, actually.
Yes.
Although it comes from a loving place, it's more about what do they want. And, that's not always a good thing. So we'll continue from there as well, the next step. So how does then one say, take the next step? So you have some clarity, again, for most people, the hardest part is the start, taking that first step, the second step, because we can get so overwhelmed with the big picture at the end that we're almost afraid to make those first few baby steps. So, how do people overcome that? How can they start down that road, that journey, and do it in a way that, maybe makes it a little bit less frightening? There's always going to be some fear, I think, but maybe a little bit less frightening, but with that kind of prudent attitude, the feeling that I've got this, I'm going to do this.
Right. And again, the biggest thing that I would think is people should not get the first thing that we need to do is really not compare ourselves with others, and do not really again think about overnight success, and start small. Of course, you cannot make $10,000 overnight if you're doing everything legally, but here in this day of social media, people really get worried about having the right kind of website, having the right kind of social media presence, having 1,000 followers to begin with on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and you name it. Like, new social media platforms are coming out every day. So I would think, if you really try to do that, you're chasing the right kind of dream or chasing the right kind of purpose. Start slow and reach out reach out to the people that you know, possibly, okay, or start. I know a lady, and all she has on her website is her contact information. If you need, she also helps people with their business strategies and stuff like that. She's not very popular at all, she's not a Tony Robbins, but she knows what she's doing, and she's really good at it. And all she has on her website is a simple contact form. If you need business consultation, email this. And I know she gets clients, one client, high end clients, 20K to 30K. And she didn't invest so much in having a website or having, all these things that are probably really for the outside world. She invested in herself. So invest in your skills, because if you know what you are really talking about, even if you're passionate about it, there might be something that you could learn. So the biggest investment could be investing in really being the master of your art, and then invest in relationships. I mean, you might not have a website, but you could actually be a part of certain groups. For example, your group, be a part of certain groups where you can actually spread your message. You could reach out to people and tell them, hey, this is what I do. If you have anybody, please let me know. Get some initial reviews, initial testimonials, even if it's from your friends and stuff, but obviously authentic, not false reviews and testimonials. And the two biggest things that I would suggest people is build that relationship, build that network, and then invest in your skills.
That sounds like very good advice. But what happens when you try this and everyone around you, your family, your friends, no, don't do that. That's silly. Get a secure job. No, 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 you shouldn't do that. Not in this economy. No, no, no. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. How do you handle people who are gonna, and it's inevitable, it's gonna happen, the objections, the people who think you're crazy. What do you do?
Yes, yes. And I can totally resonate with that because I come from that.
Tell us a bit about your story as well in that respect, how it happened for you and what challenges you went through.
So, luckily for me, it was not right. Like, of course, if you have two master's degrees in engineering, you're doing a corporate job, you get like $100,000 in paycheck straight away. And here I was venturing into an unknown field as a business consultant, as a health coach, not really being the ideal image of a health coach, right? I mean, I'm not that thin, I'm not that lean, I'm not that tall, but we still have some things to change about my lifestyle. So of course, I mean, you're not fit to be in that role, right? But one thing I knew was, at the end of the day, I want to go to bed thinking that I did something for myself and go to bed happily and peacefully with the thought that, yes, this is what I really envision my life to be. And that is what kept me on track all the time. And again, Amit, going back to that inner voice, of course, all these outside noises will always be there, always be there. But if you have that faith and belief in yourself that, yes, you can make it, and you will make it, then nothing can deviate you from your path, actually. And with your friends and family, you can always tell them. Usually any startup takes about 3 years. That's somehow a magic number, that if a startup works within the first 3 years, it should work. So at least you have all the right to borrow or buy 3 years of your life for what you really want to do in life, right?
Yeah.
So tell your friends and family, like, hey, just give me 3 years and let me try it so that I do not regret it at the end of the day. The way I look at life is, at least, you should not regret. Give it a shot. And most of the time, I feel that people would know if it is working or not working for them within the first 6 months. if you're really working towards it, trying to make the right kind of contacts, have things in place, then you should actually know within the first 6 months to 8 months if things will work for you, or if you need to change um, anything for that matter.
Yeah, no, absolutely, it does. It is a magic number, isn't it? The 3 years, I think, and I agree with you as well on the idea that for me, I would much rather be in a position to say at least I did that, than rather than say I wish I did that. I would much rather be in that boat to know that I've given it a shot. Because otherwise you just always end up wondering what could have been, what could I have done?
Exactly.
And and I think regret is more painful than rejection, or any sort of form of failure. So for me, it's worth the dabble and diving in and seeing where it goes, because what the hell else are you going to do? Are you just going to be miserable for the rest of your life? Is
Exactly.
anything going to change? Probably not. And so so in my eyes, I think you speak the absolute truth. Just go for it, because otherwise you're going to succumb to the regret syndrome that so many people I know as well feel. Because although it's never too late, there's many people out there who do feel they perhaps it's too late, and
Right.
for that reason they won't do it.
Exactly. I mean, I really actually started working for myself when I was in my 30s, right? Right now I'm 40. So about, my entrepreneurial journey has been around I would say 8 or 9 years now.
Look it, by the way.
Thank you. So, so of course, I mean, if you ask people, then 30 is late for them. They should have done something in their 20s. Right now, kids as little as 12 and 11 and 13 are actually launching their businesses and YouTube channels and earning millions of dollars. So if you now compare yourself with those children, you were almost like, in your 60s when you started the work. But again, whether it be 30, 40, or in your 20s, at least do something, because then you will not have any regrets in your life. Of course, you do not want to leave your family and friends and all that, but if you do things wisely, then obviously they will also support you and help you, because I believe all of us at some level, all of us, every single human being has this iota, or has this dream, like, I wish I had done that when I was, that age. And so most of the people actually get inspired when they look at this person who's following their dreams and living their passion, because they see that, they had, because if the the feeling that comes is, if you can do this, if Amit and Parul can do this, then I can also do similar things. And that's why it's more of an inspiration at the end of the day, rather than feeling ashamed about it.
Yeah, for you, was this your first incarnation of doing this, and you've kind of continued since then, or did it start as something else and gradually evolve into this?
So basically, I was in a regular corporate job, obviously, coming from an engineering. But then I was um working in this corporate, and I realized, I became really overweight. I was not feeling the best of my health, because for my 4 p.m. slump, I would go for a coffee and a donut. And I'd moved from US, I moved to US from India, and I tell people I was living my American dream, guys. So anyway, but then I would also look at all these women, and I'm like, when I grow 40 or when I grow 50, I don't envision myself like, sitting behind the cube and working and, being in meetings. That was not just how I pictured my life, 10 years from that point. And so I actually ventured into health and wellness because I wanted to learn more about how the body works, more about how I could lose weight, look better. But at the same time, what happened was my father, he had a massive heart attack. So I had to go back to India. I had to be with him. And whatever I learned in that, I was probably in my nutrition program for only 3 weeks or something when the incident happened with my father. But whatever I learned in that 3 weeks helped my father more than whatever I had learned in my entire life as an engineer. So I think that was the trigger point, and I realized, I really want to do something that could create a difference in people's life. So I ventured into holistic nutrition, and I had my son. And after I had my son, I started juicing because I wanted to lose the baby weight, the healthy way. And I started blogging about it, just to be accountable to myself. At that point, I had no following, nothing like that. I was just, I say, working from my kitchen counter, taking care of my baby, enjoying my life as a mom. But and I started blogging, and this blog became popular out of nowhere. See, so if you really are actually working towards your passion, luck also favors you. Okay, so this blog became famous, and I started getting calls from people in different recreation centers, different holistic centers, asking me to offer these juicing workshops to their clients and patrons, essentially. So I started offering these juicing workshops, and the people in the workshop would ask me if I have a book or additional handout or recipes that I could give to them after I am done with the workshop. So I had no book, or I had not written any handout or such. So I said, okay, I might as well write a small handout. But once I started writing, I kept writing, and it became a book, a 150-page book with 52 recipes. And again, now that burnt out thing comes into place, because one time I was so deep into it that I started writing on Friday evening, and I didn't get out of my desk till Sunday afternoon. I kept writing. I don't know when I passed out on my desk, probably slept on my desk while writing, kept writing all the time. And by Sunday, I was done. So I finished this book. And then I had this book, and I'm like, okay, now I have this book, what to do with it? So I learned how to publish and market a book. Of course, I had people who helped me, but I'm like, okay, but I really want to make something out of it. I really need to take things in my own hand and need to learn how we can actually do things correctly. So I published this book and marketed this book, and then of course it received a lot of visibility, and it became a bestseller in a lot of categories and countries, which is more to do with the algorithm, as you would know. But again, then people started noticing, see, how come this woman who was nowhere to be seen all of a became sort of a celebrity and such a big name in the juicing world. And then I'm like, okay, I didn't do anything, I just learned the process, and I just followed the process, and this is what I did. And then people started asking me about the book, how to write a book, how to publish and market it. And that's when I dive deeper into book publishing, and that is what I do as a major part of my business right now. So everything flew, I just followed my calling, for lack of better term, rather than pushing myself against anything. I let destiny pull me towards itself. So I just followed the path. But what I did, I really made sure that I knew what I was doing, just perfecting my skills. And then again, eating clean so that I have the clarity of what I really want to do.
Wow, what a journey. I love that. My first business was as a professional magician.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I this is probably one of the reasons why I dropped out of school, because I got so into magic. I just lost interest in education. There was a number of reasons, but that was one of them. And I had skipped school and to just go to magic shops and buy magic tricks and learn how to do them. And then eventually I started performing on stage. But it wasn't the magic that I loved, although I still do it as a tiny bit of a hobby, not much. But I just like, it was being on stage, inspiring people, that mystery, creating that mystery, that storytelling, is what I love doing. And so that's how that all came about. So that was the first guise of my business. But the coaching had always been there. It's been there for 28 years. But
Wonderful.
but yeah, so that's how it started for me. So, but I love your journey as well, and I love the fact that you weren't an expert, you just did it, and like you said, right, sometimes it's just a question of following the process. You didn't try and reinvent the wheel. You just looked at a manual how to publish a book. You did it, and there you go. That's it, done, right? And sometimes we make things so much more complicated than they need to be.
Exactly, exactly. And you don't have to be, things don't have to be that complicated, And again, the way I look at it, yes, when I started, of course, I was doing a lot of things on my own. But now I have a team. So now not only I work for myself, but I'm also able to help these people earn employment, right? If I hire an editor or a formatter or a cover designer, these people are also earning because of the work that I'm doing. So now it has expanded into a level where I am able to help other people even monetarily. So again, only if you have a full hand, then only you can give, right? You cannot give somebody from an empty hand. And therefore, rather than really being so hellbound that you have to just be or stuck with something that was meant to be open, let the universe surprise you, enjoy the magic in life. I mean, you would know this being a magician, because life is magical if you really let it lead you.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. Well, it's been a really enjoyable conversation. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you better, your journey, your story, and what you do, and what your beliefs are, and how you help people. And going back to what you said earlier about what a coach said to you about your gravestone, and I think I would probably ask something similar to that, which is what is the legacy that you want to leave behind when people remember you after you've gone? What do you want them to say about you?
I think I really have thought about this, and the answer that always keeps coming out back to me is, at least, if I can make one person smile, and when people think about me, they feel happy, and they are able to smile, that would be my legacy to the world. Because I think, especially in today's time, happiness is the most precious, valuable gift that you could give to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the best way for people to get in touch with you? How can they connect with you? Where can they find you? How can they find out more about you as well?
I am on social media by author Parul. It's Parul, and my website is parulagarwal.com. So, and I often write for Forbes Entrepreneurs. So if they just search for my name, they should see my articles.
Beautiful, wonderful. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and no doubt, I'm sure I will get you on again in the future as well.
Thank you so much, Amit. It was lovely speaking with you. I really loved our conversation because it was very different and philosophical and not so businessy.
Oh yeah, this is my passion. So this is why I tend to go down that track. So like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we'll definitely, not even hopefully, we will have you. I will have you back again. And to everyone out there watching this, who watches this as a replay or listens to the podcast, definitely connect with Parul and reach out to her as well. If you need someone, a guide or a mentor in that space, then you found someone there for you to help you on your journey.
Thank you. And likewise,
And
So
next time you come to London, you have a friend here now as well.
I would love to. I would love to. Yes. We were planning last
Definitely.
year, but things didn't turn out. So hopefully next year.
Lovely. Well, definitely, hopefully next year as well. So, well, thank you again. God bless you. And thank you for all your wisdom and your time. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Amit. And you have a good evening.
Just stay with me. I'm going to end the live.